Hello everyone, a tactical critic here, and today's review is on Starfield, a game that I've generally had fun playing through, though it's a game that has its flaws, and in many ways I think that Skyrim is a far better game. Starfield is an action role-playing game, somewhat similar in style to previous Bethesda games, like those that make up the Elder Scrolls and Fallout series, except the setting is now in space. Just like previous games, you get to create your own character with a customizable appearance, alongside various attributes and backstories. The game features a massive open world that you can explore at will, with plenty of different star systems, both inhabited and unexplored. The missions are distributed between a single quest line, where you investigate the origins of these mysterious artifacts, along with assignments that you pick up throughout the map, like faction quest lines and single random tasks. The combat is generally very good, and what you expect from a first-person shooter in 2023. I don't have any criticisms here, but I also only have one good thing to say about it. Otherwise, it simply does the job. The combat is everything that you expect, with a wide variety of ballistic, energy and explosive weapons, along with a jump pack, which gives you the ability to jump around the map. The only interesting aspect of Starfield's combat is the powers. They essentially act as magical abilities, which are unlocked through the main quest line. That's not a criticism, as I do like the addition of these powers, featuring everything from manipulating gravity to firing energy blasts, as they add another dimension to the traditional weapon-based combat. I generally like the space combat, something that's missing from most ground combat games. The battles follow the same aerial dogfighting style of combat that current fighter jets occupy, where each vessel fires its weapons solely forward, without any ability to engage enemies from different angles, forcing you to try and outmaneuver your opponents. The ability to disable ships and then carry out boarding actions is a cool feature, killing the crew of enemy vessels and then taking the ship and its content as loot, rather than the few items that are recovered from a destroyed ship's wreckage. The only problem here isn't the shipboarding itself, but rather the fee to register the vessel as your own, which you have to do before selling it. If you take over a ship with the intention of selling it, you have to first spend a large chunk of money to register the vessel as your own, which means that only a small percentage of the sale value is actual profit. When it comes to Starfield, I have three main issues, those being a lack of maps for the settlements, very uninteresting environments, and a boring setting. Firstly, there's a lack of maps for the settlements. Now, if we were talking about the numerous barren planets and moons that occupy most of the galaxy, that are either not very well explored or not worthy of documenting, then not having detailed maps for them is fair enough. It's up to you to explore them. The problem is, in the 24th century, with futuristic technology, the occupied settlements still don't have proper maps, just some floating icons that show various different sections of the settlements and act as fast travel locations. If I wanted to get a map of pretty much any city on this planet right now, I could do so very easily, either locally or through some internet-based service like Google Maps. I would expect the same thing here, especially seeing as other Bethesda titles, such as Skyrim, have maps, despite having a medieval level of technology. This became quite a problem when I was trying to track down a doctor, which I had to look up the location for on YouTube, instead of wasting my time stumbling around looking at the name of every shop. After browsing the internet, I came across these maps and detailed information on the Starfield database, which was really useful. So why is there no maps? Well, the only reason I can think of are either laziness or corporate cost savings, neither of which is a justifiable excuse for not having maps. When it comes to the environments, they are mostly dull and boring. Now, Starfield does have plenty of decent looking environments, from the advanced and civilized looking city of New Atlantis to the more rural and western themed city of Aquila, along with various worlds that contain a variety of flora and fauna. The problem is, there's only a handful of large cities, and of course not every world and moon is teeming with life, with a lot of the universe being made up of barren lifeless planets and desolate moons. Yes, I know that most of the galaxy is made up of either uninhabitable rocks or locations that you can't walk on due to various environmental hazards, but running across these barren landscapes dotted with nothing but random material deposits, mining outposts, and pirate bases makes for a very boring experience. Compare this to something like Skyrim's map, which has the lower alpine regions, the higher up snowy regions, and glaciers. These are not only far more interesting, but they look better as well. These boring environments are made worse by not having any kind of fast-moving vehicle to help explore them, which makes running from location to location very boring. I'm quite happy to run around the Skyrim world, as it looks good, and I know that I'm going to stumble across something interesting. My final criticism is the boring setting. Now, I have absolutely no issue with a game being set in space, that's completely fine. The issue is, there's no threat that you have to deal with, no urgent underlying problem that has to be solved. The main story of discovering the origin of these artifacts feels almost like a generic questline. There's no urgency to these missions, nor do they have any effect on the setting. Compare it to Skyrim, which has 2 story questlines, the return of the dragons, and the civil war between the Imperial Legion and the Stormcloaks. Dragons are found throughout the map. You come across both Imperial Legion and Stormcloak camps, whilst each of the many settlements are chosen a side in the war. A key factor of the boring universe is a lack of aliens, and I'm talking about advanced civilizations, not the various flora and fauna that you sometimes find on certain planets. Because the game only has humanity as a sole intelligent species, there's a big lack of variation in the setting and culture, with only half a dozen big human settlements scattered throughout the star systems. Compare the Starfield world to Mass Effect, which has various different alien civilizations with different biology, cultures, backgrounds, and their own place in the setting. There's also more interesting environments because of aliens, like the Citadel, which is a meeting place of these different alien species. The lack of aliens also means that there's less variation in the enemies that you fight. In Starfield, you mostly fight against space pirates, along with some robots and various wildlife. Compare this to the variety of enemies in Skyrim, where you face off against dragons, elementals, various humanoid species, robots, and wild creatures, or Mass Effect, which has humans, aliens, and machines. This is a level of variety that Starfield simply can't compete with. Now, having humanity as the only intelligent species isn't inherently a bad thing. However, it means that you have to put more effort into fleshing out a human-based story. There's a reason that we see aliens in game series like Halo, Mass Effect, and Warhammer 40k, along with shows like Star Trek and Star Wars. Their very concept is foreign, and it allows you to explore a lot more ideas, like different cultures and environments that are in contrast to that of humanity. The obvious first change I would make would be to make fully interactive maps for all of the settlements, something that should have been done already and shouldn't be hard to do. When it comes to the lack of diverse environments, the boring story, and the lack of aliens, I don't think there's anything that Bethesda can really do to fix that problem, as solving it would mean completely overhauling the game, which would require lots of time, effort, and money, which means realistically, it isn't going to happen. Whilst I mentioned that I generally like the space combat, I would expand upon it. The ability to deploy countermeasures against being targeted by enemies. Like current day fighter jets use flares and magnetic shaft to try and avoid incoming missiles, which will be useful when you're fighting against multiple different targets at once. Despite all of the game's issues that I've mentioned here, I do believe that Starfield is worth playing, especially if you can pick it up for free through Xbox Game Pass. The game is certainly enjoyable to play, and you can sink a lot of hours into it, though I don't feel that it has the same replay potential that Skyrim has, which I've already started playing again. If you got this far, I want to thank you very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you like this review, please consider liking and subscribing. I hope to see you in my next video. Bye for now.